In this video, I'm going to break down the twin paradox into smaller pieces. This video was inspired by a number of comments and questions and thought experiments contained in the comments to my previous two videos. And I hope I can shed some light on some of the nuances that we discussed in the comments, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more helpful with a space-time diagram to illustrate what's going on. So the setup I chose today is of the two twins traveling apart, the same as they did in the first video. But as we've seen, as long as they're traveling apart at 60% of the speed of light, they can't agree who's aging more quickly or more slowly, or in other words, who's younger or who's older. From the perspective of twin A on the left, when he's 5 years old, this twin is only 4 years old. He can send him a message, he'll get the message later, but based on how long the message took to fly back and forth, he can figure out, okay, halfway between sending the message and receiving the response, I was 5. He says he was 4. The same thing will be true for twin B. Symmetrically, for him, he's 5, his other twin is 4. So they can't both be true, right? And that's the weird thing about special relativity, is that as long as they're flying apart from each other or towards each other, they have contradicting views of reality. Now, what I want to point out, and this is something that I used in my comments, hopefully to help explain some of what's going on, is it'll be interesting for these twins, not interesting, but the only way for them to agree on a shared reality is for them to share the same inertial frame of reference. So they need to stop moving apart or towards each other. They need to be moving at the same speed so that they appear to be at rest relative to one another. Now, the way I've set it up is only one twin is going to change his speed, and we can show it from both sides. Either twin B stops moving away and starts moving parallel, or basically just stops parallel through space-time, but just stops moving away in space. And the symmetrical situation would be if twin A would stop moving away from twin B and move through space. Now, once they've done that, they can start sending messages back and forth, and they can agree on how old they are at the same time. Simultaneous events are represented by the events that happen at the same point in time, so at the same point along the vertical y-axis. Now, what's bizarre about this is that if it's twin A who changes his speed to match twin B, then twin A and twin B will agree that twin A is now 5 years old, while twin B is only, twin A is 4 years old, while twin B is only is 5 years old. The red line represents how old someone is if they fly at a constant speed from this point of origin out to the line. So twin A is 4 years old, 1, 2, 3, 4. Twin B will agree now that he's 5 and he's 4. And as they move through time, because they're not moving apart from each other, they age at the same speed. So if they just kept moving through time, they would always agree that twin B is older, twin A is younger by a year. If it had been twin B changing his speed to match twin A's speed, it would be the other way around. They would send messages back and forth, and they would agree that twin B is younger and twin A is older. So you can see already that simply by changing their inertial frame of reference, they fall into a shared reality. Before, when they were flying apart, they couldn't agree on who was older or younger. Now they can agree, but it depends on who does that shift, who does the change of speed. He's the one who changes his coordinate system, and he's the one whose reality shifts. What do I mean by that? Twin A, if twin A is the one who just keeps traveling at the same speed the whole time, for twin A, he saw twin B aging less quickly as he was flying out. So for him, if he had just kept going, he would have said, my view of reality never changes. When I'm 5 years old, he appears to be 4 years old. Because he changed his direction of travel, he stopped flying away from me. That's why he stops aging at a different speed. He ages at the same speed now, but there's never any break in my reality, and never any weird shift. The only thing that changes is that he stops aging at a slower speed and he starts aging at the same speed. Whereas for twin B, assuming that he's the one who changed his speed, up until the point where he was 4 years old, before he changed his speed, he thought this twin was 3.2 years old when he was 4 years old. So he thought he was older, he was younger. As soon as he changes his speed, now all of a sudden, this twin A, who looked like he was 3.2 years old before he changed his speed, after he changed his speed, he looks like he's 5 years old. So this twin suddenly did a jump in apparent simultaneous age. We can turn the whole thing around. Like, let's say that they, for a little while, they don't move apart or move any closer. They just move through time. They get older. And now they agree, by sending messages, they agree that when this twin B is 8 years old, because he's aged 4 more years from when he was 4 years here, and this twin B is 9 years old, they'll agree that this is happening simultaneously in this frame of reference. They agree that they're both going to take off to the right. So B is flying away from A is flying towards B. They both do it at the same speed. Let me just get rid of this red line. We don't need that anymore. So what happens when they change their speeds? Well, their new frame of reference, their new shared frame of reference now looks like this. Before they changed their speed, they thought that simultaneously O was 9 years old, M was 8 years old, or rather twin A at point O and twin B at point M. Now when they resynchronize, send messages back and forth to figure out how old they actually are at the same time, things have completely changed again. It used to be twin A was older, twin B was younger. Now it's the opposite. Just because they changed the direction of travel, first of all, they can no longer agree that they changed speeds at the same time, right? Now it looks like he changed his speed years before he changed his. And when they figure out how old they are, they'll realize that all of a sudden the twin who was older before is now younger. Because by the time this twin has reached the same height, he will be not 8 years old, but 9, 10, maybe 10.2, while this guy is still only 9. And then they'll continue aging at the same speed. So I hope that helps add maybe a missing link to the previous videos, which is the weird stuff that happens when you change your speed. This is a big part of why in the classical twin paradox, twin B experiences things very differently from twin A. If I just move this back, we can kind of see the original twin paradox. If we imagine twin A is on Earth, spends 10 years on Earth, twin B spends 4 years flying away and 4 years flying back. From twin A's perspective, twin A just sees twin B aging 80% of the speed, so aging more slowly. And as he comes back, he's also aging more slowly. Twin A doesn't change his speed, so his view of reality never changes. Like, he always agrees that at this point, my twin B was this old. At this point, he was this old. When I was 5, he was 4, etc., etc. It's twin B who shifts his speed, who has this radical change of perspective, because up until he was 4 years old, it looked like this twin reached 3.2 years. He was aging at 80%, which means he got to 3.2 years old. And then all of a sudden, after he changes his speed, he's flying up here where this other twin A will be 10 years old. Yes, he still sees this other twin aging at 80% of his speed. So he still sees twin A as aging more slowly, but he's missing these years. He's missing the years between 3.2 and 6.8. And that's why he can see his twin A age more slowly, but still twin A is older, because these years he has no way of observing those in any shared or apparently simultaneous point of view. I don't know, that's not a very accurate formulation, but I hope you see what I mean. Is that twin B, because he changes his speed, that makes up for the missing years. Because yes, from twin B's perspective, twin A looks like he's aging more slowly, but when he changes his speed, he loses in a way 2 years. 2 years that probably look a bit different. I haven't worked out the math for that. Anyway, I'm going to stop here. I think I've said what I want to say, and I hope it helps. I'll try to share this video in the comments where these questions arose and where these examples came to mind, because I thought it might be helpful. All right, let me know in the comments if there are more questions, or if this perhaps raises more questions, and I'll do my best to see if I can address them as well.